You've been a longtime critic of Alan Greenspan.
That's true.
You're a critic of Ben Bernanke, and I suppose by extension, Janet Yellen too. Do you have any confidence in the current chairman, Jay Powell?
No. No, he hasn't expressed any reservations about the Greenspan, Bernanke, Yellen, Powell policy of pushing rates down. They act as if a low rate is a panacea and comes with no downside. That is clearly nonsense. It's created, I think, the biggest evil in our society, and that is inequality. If you drive up the price of assets systematically, and it's bound to happen if you drive the rates down to negative territory, who do you make money for? You make money for the people with assets. Who owns the assets? The top 1% has 35% of all the assets. The top 10% have practically all the assets. What's the asset ownership of the bottom half? A rounding error, or practically none. So you mark up the assets, and that's your contribution to society. What you're doing is pushing down on labor, pushing down on the bottom half, with no offset from increasing their assets, since they have none. And you're making the top 1% ineffably rich. And the data bears that out right down to the last 2 years, when the top 0.1% has doubled its wealth during COVID. And the bottom 50%, I can assure you, has not doubled its wealth. The dominance of a handful of firms has increased steadily in most subsets. And so profit margins have gone up, and the power of corporations has gone up, and they've been able to use more of their power in influencing government, and they have. There is a lot of regulatory capture where people from business tend to run the agencies that regulate the industries. So it's been a wonderful time to make money at the corporate system, and the share of GDP that goes to corporate profits has steadily risen, and the share going to labor has steadily fallen. This makes it a dreadful cousin with the asset class inflation that we've had. They both have two things in common. They make the rich better off, and they make the working class worse off. And that I think is the great poison at the moment in the American system. If we do not address rising inequality, we will be in real trouble. We are the least equal society, measurably, in the developed world. We have the least fluid economic mobility, for heaven's sake. You know, when I arrived in America in the 60s, it was a joke how rigid the UK was. The UK is now less rigid than the US. The number of people moving from the bottom quarter to the top quarter in a lifetime is half of what it is, say, in the Swedens of the world, in the US. We are the least mobile. I mean, this is so un-American. It is so far from what people believe to be the case. But check it. We're the least mobile, we're the least equal society. And it's a poisonous influence. And we have facilitated it. We have moved the taxes on capital gains tax, dividend tax, interest tax. We've moved them down, and by definition, the amount that has to come from income has gone up.